Okay, in this video I'm going to show you some very strong evidence that indicates that some Black Ops program is trying to get the Yellowstone supervolcano to erupt. First, a little background. Okay, the caldera of Yellowstone is really huge. New estimates from December 2013 say it's about 240 cubic miles of molten magma, which means that if it erupted, it has the potential to be about 2,000 times the force of Mount St. Helens. And if you were alive back in 1980, you remember this is Mount St. Helens. This is the amount of ash deposit it had. Well, this big triangle area is the amount of Yellowstone, the amount of magma that Yellowstone now has. And this is what we want to prevent. And apparently some Black Ops program wants to bring this to happen as quick as possible. Here is the just a rough estimate of how much ash would be spread all over. This underestimates the real risk of having the electric grid completely shut down for years on end, which would then trigger a bunch of Fukushima meltdowns in the U.S. This is actually closer than you think if we don't stop this Black Ops program. And let me show you. Okay, there's a lot of seismometers placed all around the caldera, and they're just measuring devices. The geology of this area is pretty complex, but the thing to notice is there are some fault zones that go near the surface. This is the part that they're targeting. The thing is, with this huge amount of high-pressure magma, if there is ever a breakthrough to the surface, you're going to have a major eruption. And it is just a tiny, tiny crack in the rock, what they call a tornillo, where you have a magma intrusion and then a flow, and once that reaches the surface, basically it's unstoppable. So what kind of thing are they doing here? Here's the fault zone that's been under attack for 2 years. This is dang it, I forget the name of that. They made all three of these. They're attacking 3 sites, and they've got like Maple Lake, Mirror, I forget, darn it. Anyway, this is the equipment, or it's something similar to the equipment they're using. They have a computer-controlled array of this type of device. It's called a Vibroseis truck. This is a 60-ton truck that can press this steel plate down and produce actually earthquakes. And when they're arranged in an array, you have the ability to put these pressure waves into the earth, which I'll show in a minute. And yes, they're absolutely huge. They're used for natural gas exploration because you can actually map the underlying rock with these seismic waves. Here's a Vibroseis waveform. Just a typical thump on the ground and the kind of thing that happens, and it looks like it's peaking about 10,000 pound force here. And here's one that's actually frequency swept. And you want to remember, this is the kind of a waveform they can produce. Now here are the reflections from the Earth, but basically this is what we're going to see in these seismograph readings. Okay, and even though Yellowstone has just a lot of seismometer sites, they've only attacked Mirror Lake and I can't remember. Anyway, so let's go ahead and look at the data, the evidence. This is the website. It's called isthisthingon.org/Yellowstone/daythumbs.php, but you can just Google "Is this thing on Yellowstone?" and then that top link will take you right here. Now this is a month old, but I just wanted to show it because this is Mirror Lake Plateau. That's the one I'm trying to remember. This is what they've been doing for 2 years. This is right over that fault zone where there's tons of faults reaching the surface. And this has gone on every day since September 2012. So this is not natural steam venting or whatever you want to call it. The reason we know it's not steam venting is that we can go to the next door seismometer and look at that. And what do we see? We see the same pattern, but it's attenuated. So, for instance, right here at 1900, we see sort of a break in the pattern. So let's go back to the other one. What do we see at 1900? Bingo. And this has been going on for 2 years. Somebody has some giant Vibroseis equipment, and they've been shaking this caldera. Let me jump a month earlier and just, for instance, show what it looks like again. Oops, I got to generate. And again, they have focused the attack on Mirror Lake Plateau for gosh, about a year actually. Okay, so we still see, and these nodes actually occur, I believe, when there's maximum stress on the crust, which means it depends on the position of the moon and the sun and Jupiter. So we need an astronomer to go ahead and map that, please, if you don't mind. And then we could actually verify why they're having these nodes occur at that time. You know, let me go back to the very start of this program, which was back in, here's September 30th. This is Mirror Lake. Now this is inside the caldera. This is one of the first times that we see an organized pattern. Here's September 15th, again Mirror Lake. Very noisy looking. And here's Mirror Lake, August 15. Now see, this is before it started. This is August 15th, 2012, at Mirror Lake, before they started doing this program. August 23, Maple Creek. That looks like some... Again, this is the start of the Vibroseis. In fact, this Maple Creek went through several days, about a week of testing, where you can see they turn the thing on, then they turn it off, and then they ramp up, they increase the power here, then they turn it off, then they increase the power some more. And Maple Creek, September 15th, you know, they're just testing it here, playing around, and bringing in more trucks and getting the computer system lined up. Now this is the kind of thing we see for just months on end here, that that you have two oscillators beating at a similar frequency, and they're changing their frequency, and as they go to zero beat frequency, you get this null here, and that's putting a maximum stress on these rock layers. So it's unbelievable that they're actually doing this. Again, no matter how noisy it is, you still get that beat frequency, generally twice a day, which would mean, you know, sunrise, sunset, or moonrise, or some relation between the big gravitational pulls of the sun and Jupiter. Pelican Cove. Now this is not being vibrated. This is not vibrated. This is the proof that it's not a calibration signal that they're putting in, you know, because here it is many miles away and we still see that pattern. That's proof that the ground is shaking. Maple Creek, October, and now I'm going to go through here real quick because we'll just look at every 2 weeks. And now here's your beat frequency again at 11:30. And next, okay, now this is Maple Creek, November 1st, 2012. Aha, so it was turned off and then they turned it on, evidently. Oh, great. Security alarm's going off. Let's see. Mirror Lake Plateau, November 15. Now look at this pattern. Holy cow. And, you know, for the longest time they've been saying, oh, this is steam intrusion. It's not. It's too mathematical. It's too perfect. And here's January 2013, Mirror Lake Plateau. Look at this signal. It's sinusoidal. They're sweeping the frequency. Sweeping, and then here you have this like amplitude modulated envelope here. So we know there's probably a couple different systems banging together. And January 15, February 2013, Mirror Lake Plateau. I mean, look at these patterns. This is not steam, folks. This is why Standeo has said that he talked to some kind of a geologist worker up there, and they had to sign a top security oath under pain of death if they talked to anybody. But you know, these guys that set up the trucks and the computer lines, they don't know what they're doing. All they know is they're getting paid a ton of money, and they're supposed to keep their mouth shut. So here's your disclosure right here. Obviously, this is a very regular pattern. Here's April 2013. You know, the heaviest oscillation, the heaviest vibration is actually going to happen in 2014 as they bring more and more of these trucks in and hook them up, you know, get them all synchronized. And this is what I'm talking about, the beat frequency. Here you have these two oscillators, you know, a fraction of a hertz apart, and then here, right here is a null. Like right there it goes to 0, and then it builds back up again. So that's putting maximum stress on the rocks underneath these 2 or more frequency sources. So this is all computer modeled now, and they're doing everything they can, short of popping off an H-bomb down in a borehole, to get this thing to blow. And the reason is the scientists are so worried about the Arctic methane venting exponentially that some scientists believe our only hope is to blow up the Yellowstone supervolcano. And I don't know if that's right or wrong, but I know that doing this kind of terrorist mass murder is wrong. And at the very least, people should have the opportunity to be warned about this program going on. But this also explains why USGS has been systematically suppressing any kind of earthquake data from Yellowstone. I mean, big earthquakes don't even get registered. Small earthquakes are downgraded and then uploaded to the website. But USGS is absolutely hiding this data. November 2013, Mirror Lake, very rhythmic pattern. December 15, 2013. Let me jump ahead a little bit. January 15, Maple Creek. Okay, now this one is not even getting vibrated, and yet we see they do have a truck out there turning on and off, but it's not ganged, so it just looks like noise. Mirror Lake Plateau, and again you can see there's a mathematical pattern here, and usually it will hit a null. It did hit a null here, which the null at the surface means there's a maximum of vibration down somewhere else. That's what this is, the point is here. Okay, so that March 2014, now we're getting to the very heaviest of the vibrations that I've ever seen, and I've been watching this about 2 years. So as a moral duty, I have to inform everybody that's interested. Okay, very noisy looking pattern. Let's keep going, and let me see what we have coming up. Okay, now this was June 15, 2014, and this showed up in all of the maps on Yellowstone. So this is clearly probably dynamite being blown up, and this is right on top of that crowded zone of faults. Now, who in their right mind would put repeated small jolt dynamite, who knows what it is? Maybe all the Vibroseis trucks were hitting this pulse at the exact same time. That would be worse than dynamite. And then again, they convert right back. You know, that does look like the Vibroseis trucks, because it's actually part of this pattern here. It's synchronized to this pattern. So they're doing everything they possibly can to get this damn volcano for that magma, one streamer of magma, to reach the surface. Because once that happens, that the gas inside the magma is so highly pressurized that you will then have a unstoppable pressure release. Okay, so again we see the nulls. So they had tried that experiment, still no results. Here's July 15, 2014. And some of these graphs just look a whole lot better than others. Now this, you could teach this in a electrical engineering class as amplitude modulation, because this is what's called heterodyning, when you beat two frequencies together, and the difference is what we're seeing right here. These two Vibroseis sources are being heterodyned, and we are seeing the result. And the ground is having this incredible amount of force put into it. And each one of these gray lines here is 1 minute. So that means these are really slow, long vibrations. Okay, so now we're to September 2014. This is just a few days ago. Okay, now this is right after they moved. Okay, let me see. Let me go back just a little bit. Okay, September 15th was when they moved the Vibroseis equipment from Mirror Lake Plateau over to Mirror Lake. See, they're all the same. They designed it to be confusing, apparently. So, after pulsing that thing for 2 years at Mirror Lake Plateau on top of those crowded fault zones, they've now moved it inside the caldera to Mirror Lake, which, sorry I don't have that map handy, but and again, they're using the exact same pattern. They're starting all the way over from scratch. Apparently they have a testing protocol, and I mean, this has nothing to do with analyzing. This has been going on for 2 years. This is so much energy and so regular. This is an attempt to get the big eruption started. And they have total plausible deniability because, there's no flyovers or anything. Now this is Lake Yellowstone. So this is not connected to the other seismometers, but it still has this pattern. And here is Maple Creek again. There's your beat frequency. And occasionally they do get a small eruption to happen. Okay, so here's the fault zone. This is Maple Creek, MP, Maple Creek. This is where for 2 years, they have shaken this. Or anyway, they probably have Vibroseis trucks, maybe on different sides of the fault. And then what we see at the seismometer is just the beat frequency, the heterodyne frequency. Now they've moved it over here to ML, Mirror Lake. And there's a third one here, Mirror Lake Plateau, something like that. It's another MP name. But so for 2 years they've tried to get it to go here. They couldn't, so now they've moved it actually on top of the caldera. And the maps say that the magma is closest to the surface up in here. Alright, so I guess it makes sense that they're desperate now. And if we look at today's map, this is really quite interesting. It's like they're desperate. They're absolutely desperate to get this thing to pop. And let me go ahead and correct my date for 1 second here. September 30, generate report. And now I'm going to see, now here's Mirror Lake Plateau. See, it's really quiet now. They've taken the Vibroseis equipment off of this one, and they've moved it to Mirror Lake. And this is a chaotic pattern. I've never seen a pattern that looks like this. It's like they're just desperate. They're just trying anything because they can feel this noose tightening around their necks. But you guys who are involved in this, I just don't even know what to say. This is the ultimate act of terrorism. If this is correct, and if I'm wrong, please, somebody offer an explanation for this. But this is real seismic activity that is sinusoidal and frequency modulated and obviously man-made, and it's been going on for 2 years, at two of the most vulnerable points in this supervolcano. So, and then here's the other one, Maple Creek. Now they have pulsed this one, but mostly it's silent. Now, okay, I see. So they took the Vibroseis equipment from Mirror Lake Plateau and moved it over to Mary Creek. But it's obviously man-made. This has been going on for 2 years and nobody's ever said a word about it. It's unbelievable. Okay, so I hope this is some pretty good warning for folks. But the main thing is, everybody in the northern hemisphere stands to die from this thing when it goes off because of the years of cold, maybe a year of darkness, several years of extreme cold, no crops grown for 10 years. The entire central U.S. will be poisoned by this horrible ash stuff, and that means that this is the ultimate act of terrorism. So, and people in Europe will be killed by this. There's no doubt. There's just no doubt. So, I hope this is not too much. But, you know, we just got to stop it, that's all. I mean, just stop this and this volcano is going to sit there for another 700,000 years. But if we don't stop it, it may actually go off in, 4 or 5 years. We'll see. Thanks.